Hello and welcome to another week and another Chapter 11 review. Guys, this is a good chapter. We've talked about lighting, we've talked about signage, we've talked about symmetry, we've talked about balance. Now you got to put them all together and talk about a theme. Now within a theme, I'm over on page 182. Right there on page 182 in the introduction, it's the third paragraph down or so. It talks about a single mannequin in a window, elegantly presented, sends a message that exclusive merchandise is within, while display with many items together puts the emphasis on price and appeals to the more cost-conscious shopper. This is the idea behind a theme. And again, it's turning that shopper into a buyer. Talks about a major factor in the complexity of the presentation is and it always comes back to money. Budget. How much money is going to decide how big or how bad that dang display is going to be. Of course, the major expenditures at Christmas is when retailers are most active, get their most profits, and that's when the visual merchandisers are going to be extremely busy. Same page 182, we talk about the total environment philosophy. The company that started all that is Banana Republic, and it talks about in the first paragraph about total environment philosophy that is eventually imitated by others. They started it, but now it works so well, other companies are trying to take this on as well. And for example, it goes on to talk about no matter what time of year, the setting never changes. No special Christmas or Mother's Day displays are found at Banana Republic. Again, no seasonal changes are made to depict a special time of year, just a permanent setting that enhances the merchandise. And they're getting away with it. I mean, it works for them. That's what we want. Over on page 183, I don't know, it's about the second or third paragraph down. Although the total environment philosophy is a rule for many businesses, the vast majority of retailers still believe in changing their atmosphere seasonally. At Christmas, their windows and interior spaces are transformed into arenas of tinsel, glitter, snow, animated figures, and Santa Clauses. Then it goes on to say, when the leaves are about to turn from green to russet, the stores take on the colors and the textures of fall. So even though you have an environmental philosophy, doesn't mean you don't have to, or you can change seasonally. And you're going to find Christmas is going to be one of those seasons. And then it talks down on page 183, it starts talking about seasonal. Seasonal display will occupy the windows, and a specific merchandise to be featured are calculated by management to maximize sales. When do you put the display on? And when do you take it out of the window or off the floor? It's up to management. It all comes around profits. Remember, you're to turn shoppers into buyers. Then it goes down to talk about summer. It says merchants introduce summer items as early as the day after Easter and usually no later than May 1st. But then, just two lines below that, it says, each store must decide upon the pace that fits its merchandising concept and image. Someone who specializes in winter sports gear, of course, would leave it out longer. So remember, this isn't a hard and fast rule. Just keep that in mind. We talk about the fall on page 184. Prices in the fall are generally higher than those charged for summer goods, and the selling period is a long one. Did you get that? Prices in the fall are generally higher than those charged for summer goods, and the selling period is longer. The fall hits, people are willing to open up that checkbook. That's what we want, right? And it goes on, no matter what the time zone is, autumn always takes precedence. You can be in Miami, Florida. As soon as the leaves start turning in the north, people in Florida are going to see fall visual merchandising. On page 185, we start talking about winter. Now, when we talk about winter, understand we're not talking about the Christmas season. Those 6 weeks of Christmas is a separate theme altogether. All we're talking about is winter. Okay, so in winter, we're over on 186. keep in mind that just because it's winter I don't have to wait for the first day of winter to make a display about winter. I'm not following calendar days. We talk about October, November. These months are also used to sell off the merchandise that did not meet the customer's expectations in the fall. So we've got some fall merchandise, didn't sell. All of a sudden I can start trying to sell it now. We talk about at the very bottom of page 186, resort merchandise. These are the people who take vacations in the winter time. There's a lot of money there. Do up a display focusing, you can be in, I'm just going to make up a city, Duluth, Minnesota. But if you have a lot of vacationers that go down to Florida from Duluth in, let's say, January, why not put a display up featuring summer wear for those vacationers, what's called resort merchandise, to buy before they go down to Miami, Florida. Just something to think about. 186 and 187, we talk about spring. Spring is, and this is on bottom page 186. The season is typically short and low in sales volume, but it prepares the shopper for the summer. So it might be a short season, might not get a lot of money, but it's prepping the buyer for the summer season. Stores introduce merchandise that is lighter in both color and fabric and feature it in a spring-like setting. Then over on page 188, I'm already at almost 7 minutes. I might have to break this up into two. Guys, this is a good chapter. If you're really thinking about a career in visual merchandising or marketing even, read this chapter. It's a good chapter. So I might have to break this up into two, but we'll see. Page 188, we talk about the holidays. Valentine's Day promotions require just a few days before the actual event, while Christmas season lasts at least the 6 full weeks. So Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, you're going to see that these presentations are short-lived. Whereas Christmas, of course, our big season, is probably 6 weeks, if not more. The actual displays for Christmas are generally installed just prior to Thanksgiving, with some companies getting even an earlier start. Now we all know Christmas season around here starts September. Big Lots, Dollar Tree are usually some of the early retailers that get into it. We talk about on page 189 President's Week. This is Washington and Lincoln's birthday. Guys, this is a perfect opportunity to clean up on those winter merchandise items that didn't sell. Throw them out on clearance, get rid of them. Cleanup sales of winter merchandise is right around President's Week. Let's move over to Easter. And just the first sentence pretty much says it all. Unlike Christmas with its extravagant presentations, in most stores Easter is not a major merchandising thrust. In fact, it goes on to say, some companies do not even bother to make a distinction between Easter finery and general spring. There is an Easter market out there, but it's short-lived and probably doesn't bring in a whole lot of money. We talk about Parents' Day, Father's, we're on about 189 stuff. Parents' Day, Mother's Day, and Father's Day. Boost sales in some departments such as fragrances, clothing, and housewares. The very bottom line tells it all, and we have seen some of our homework assignments do this. This last line on the page. Often relying on an abundance of gift boxes piled high to set the theme. Think about some of the pictures we've seen where it's just a display stacked with boxes. That's exactly what they're talking about. Page 190, we talk about Valentine's Day. Again, a very short-lived season. 2 days, maybe 3 days prior, a good bit of your sales are going to come on Valentine's Day. And again, it's going to be a small selection of merchandise. We talk about Columbus Day over on 191. The thing you want to remember about Columbus Day is this is when you get those coats the first day to start buying winter coats at a reduced price. You've started selling your coats, of course, I don't know, September, at Columbus Day, that's when you're going to put them on clearance, and you're going to see some coats move off your racks, because you don't want to store them, right? Coats are big and bulky. They're stylish. Let's get rid of them. Columbus Day. And then here's some good stuff on page 191. We talk about creative themes. Oftentimes, fantasy plays an important role in these creative endeavors. Creative themes we're talking about. The one thing I want you to look at, and I've got it not only highlighted, I've got it circled, and I've got stars around this one line. It says, and it's only part of the line, it says, stop passerbyers in their tracks. Can your display stop a shopper in their tracks? That's what it's all about. You got to stop them. And again, what's our philosophy? Turn that shopper into a buyer. But then, the next paragraph down, right in the middle of the paragraph, it says, the shopper must not be puzzled about what the store is trying to sell. Have you ever looked at a display and could not figure out what the heck they were trying to advertise to you? What were they trying to sell to you? There was so much clutter around it, you never could figure out what the heck you were supposed to go in and buy. We talk about on the bottom of page 191, actually bottom of page 191, also the bottom of page 192. Institutional displays, concentrating on building an image for the store in the minds of the customers. A good example they talk about is at the bottom of page 192. They talk about, of course, September 11th, 2001. After that event, I can't think of a single store that didn't have some patriotic display in their windows. Now, were they actually trying to sell you something, or were they just trying to promote patriotism? I guess that would be up for you to decide. And what would you have done? If you're a visual merchandiser, would you have used that opportunity to sell items, or just to promote patriotism and start healing the country? What would you have done if you were the visual merchandiser? Now we get on to page 194. We talk about ensemble displays. It's to entice the customer to buy the total package rather than just one or two items. They talk about a tuxedo display. You display the tuxedo with a shirt, a tie, the shoes, the cufflinks, all that, in hopes that the buyer not only buys the tuxedo, but all the ancillary products with it. That's the ensemble display. We talk about special events and promotions. And then on page 196, it's in chapter review number 7. Much of the work done by visual merchandisers falls outside the seasonal themes and traditional holiday settings. The store depends on the creativity of the visual staff to come up with timely, motivating themes. So you got to be creative. You've got to create the windows. You're generating the profits. All right? Hope that helped. I apologize. I went 13 minutes and almost 30 seconds. I should have broken this into 2. But look for a second one on your assignment for this week. Have fun.